He was kidding.
Good, Daniel.
Thanks, Joe. I just wondered if you have had the chance yet to speak to your successor in the Trump administration, and if you've got any advice for him.
I have not. I don't know who will be sitting in my chair yet, so I haven't spoken to that person. And then advice?
Yeah.
That's a good question, one I haven't thought of. I would say read the president's speech today. Really, I'm not being facetious. The president's speech today is the best advice I could give to any member of the incoming economic team. Because what it says is we have planted some very important seeds in growing domestic industry, which I think both the outgoing and the incoming administration share the strong desire to see American industry stand up independently, more resilient supply chains. Yes, we still believe in very robust trade flows, so obviously part of my advice would be not to do sweeping tariffs. Certainly small tariffs, targeted tariffs that protect against unfair dumping, sure. But it would be to nurture, I guess this may not be the most mellifluous advice that they want to hear, but nurture the seeds that we've planted. This is not a blue state thing or a red state thing, and in fact, the president was very clear on this today. Most of the investments under the IRA, under CHIPS, even under infrastructure, are going to red states, not blue states. Most of them are going to people with relatively lower incomes or lower levels of education. So very much a working class issue. So nurture the seeds, don't stomp on them.
Is there anything that you have seen or heard from the incoming administration's economic plans that you like? Or that could be in line with what you have?
I've heard certainly commentary about getting on a more fiscally sustainable path. So thinking about Josh's question a moment ago. What I can't put together is how you get there from here, well, not from here, how you get there from what I believe to be their fiscal agenda. And in fact, there have been many scorekeepers across town who have been scoring the cost of not just extending fully the TCJA tax cuts, but going further. Tax cuts for overtime, tax cuts for Social Security, tax cuts for tips. And so if you tout that all up by one study, there was an upper bound of north of 10 trillion in terms of adding to the deficit and the debt. So I like some of the sound I'm hearing about getting on a more sustainable fiscal path, but then I'm hearing a policy agenda that goes the wrong way on that.
Just to follow up, you said that most of these projects are in red states. Certainly your administration didn't get a whole lot of political benefit from that, but I'm wondering, why is that? Is it because it's easier, there's less red tape, there's less regulations in red states, you can get projects up and going faster than in blue states?
No, it's not so much that. It's more that, that these projects were targeted to communities that had been historically left behind. This president believes, and I think he probably shares this belief with the incoming president to some extent. This president believes that while there are absolutely positive attributes to globalization, the idea that globalization didn't leave behind American communities and didn't hurt anybody and uplifted everybody is clearly wrong. And even bereft. I mean, to blithely say, here's another trade deal, everybody's going to love it and be fine, is just denying the impact of the China shock and the hollowing out that happened to the very communities we're talking about. So these plans were designed in part to disproportionately send their investments to communities that had been hollowed out and left behind. Energy communities, communities where anchor factories were lost, and that's behind where those investments have flowed.
But a lot of battleground states were deindustrialized and left behind.
Well,
no. Put projects in there. Why red states is what I'm asking.
No, go to investment.gov and you'll see that there are lots of projects there too. So it's not that 90% were in red and 10 were in blue. I don't know what the division is, but I think it's probably fairly close. It's that a lot more were, when the president talked about this today, he framed it as like this may not, some may look at this and say this is not my greatest political move. You know, that's not where he's coming from. When he said, I'm president for all Americans, he meant it and he over-delivered.